a second to get my camera figured out here. I think I got it. Let me know if I'm looking the wrong direction. I'm playing with a little bit of different camera equipment. I tried to use my Sony to live stream, but I've never done that before. And I'm not the most technical person ever, so it was an operation. I think I started a live stream on there, but it didn't actually start, or I couldn't see it. I couldn't see the chat, so I decided just to switch back to my phone and use what was simpler for me. Live streaming is a whole new world. There's a lot of stuff out there, and I haven't quite figured out how to use it all yet. But hopefully this works just fine, and hopefully I'm actually live right now and not just talking to myself, because that would be crazy. But decided to jump on here and make a live stream today. See if anybody jumped on and see if I find anybody to talk to. I just wanted to show off some new stuff that I got. I got a ton of new tanks. I know I've been talking recently about setting up a whole bunch of new aquariums, and I finally got around to it. Hold on, sorry, I'm just checking something real quick. That's the mute button. I don't think this is working. All right, so sorry about that. But yeah, I've just kind of been on a little bit of a spree for buying lots of fish. I've gotten way too many new fish. And actually, I had a huge shipment that was supposed to come in today that I'm kind of bummed that this is the second time, and maybe it's the summertime. Of course, is probably the worst time for shipments to get delayed, but unfortunately, I had a whole shipment of a ton of fish get stuck at UPS, and so that is a little bit of a bummer. It won't be here till tomorrow, so hopefully the fish are doing okay. I wanted to show off those fish today. I was kind of planning on doing this, and I want to show off those fish, but they're not here for me to show off. So there's a few of them. I can't remember how to say their names. Flusipinus, like smiling acara, I think is what they're called. They're kind of a dwarf cichlid. I have a tank that I'm setting up that's kind of more of like a muted tone South American tank. I'm not going for the shiniest, brightest fish. I'm just trying to set up some a tank for just some more natural looking South American cichlids. I'll show you that here in a few minutes. And I ordered a few fish that kind of fit that description. So not the prettiest, but more natural looking. So that's one of them that I ordered for that. I also got some more zebra acaras. I've been looking for them for a while. I made a video recently about how I lost one of mine out of a pair, and I was a little bit bummed about that. So I found some. I looked at a lot of different places and couldn't find them, but I finally found some zebra cars for sale, and I ordered 3. It didn't say on the website where or how big they are, so I'm not really sure. They could be little tiny babies. I still have the other one, so I'm not sure if I'm going to put them in the 75 where my current zebra car is, but I'm just happy to have finally found some, so that's pretty awesome. And I also got a few Corys. I always neglect the Corys. I don't know if anybody else, I know some people love Corys, and they are just absolutely obsessed with Corys, but I feel like every time I go to buy fish, I buy tons of fish, and I go, I need more Corys, and then I end up taking those out of the cart once I add everything up and go, I just spent way too much money, so what do I get rid of? And I always nix the Corys. And actually, the Corys weren't originally on my list. I was kind of forced to buy them because I ordered some different fish, and the fish that I had ordered, they weren't in the warehouse when they went to ship them, and the place that I ordered them from called me, and they said that they asked me, they were like, the fish are not here, but they're going to be here tomorrow, and then we can ship them to you the day after that. And I was like, so you're going to have them shipped to you and then put them in a tank for a day and then ship them to me? And that just sounded like a recipe for some stressed out, angry fish. And so I decided to substitute that order, and I ended up getting 8 Corys. So there you go. I didn't neglect the Corys this time, but it was sort of like I was forced to not neglect the Corys. So got some Corys. I also got some cardinal tetras that were another substitution for another fish that was in that batch. And I got some more rainbows, and I'll show you why I got some more rainbows. I also am picking up some more rainbows from someone locally, probably tomorrow, and they're a little bit larger rainbows. Some of them are, I think. I'm actually not entirely sure what kind they are. Somebody put them up on Facebook and said they were trying to get rid of them, and I set up a 6-foot rainbow tank, and so I'm kind of in the market for all things rainbow, so I agreed to go get them from this person. So I'm excited for that, but that won't be till tomorrow. That was another one that was supposed to be today, but it won't be till tomorrow. And I'm just crossing my fingers that everything works out in the quarantine situations that I have set up for all these fish. So we'll see how that goes. The other one that was supposed to be here that is, I haven't gotten a hold of the person selling them yet. I'm not sure. I think the holiday week has got things working a little funny, but I ordered a breeding group of wild-caught Cyathopharynx foyer, and that fish, if you've ever heard of it, if you know what it is, you just went, oh my gosh, that's crazy. If you don't know what it is, you don't know what it is, and that's fine. But it is probably the most beautiful fish I have ever seen when it's in its breeding colors. It is absolutely incredible, and I never see it for sale. The only time I saw it for sale was, actually there's one right here swimming right next to me. Oop, there it is. I saw it for sale about, well, that one's about 2.5 years old, so about 2.5 years ago I saw the Cyathopharynx for sale, and that was when I learned about them, learned all about them, looked up a lot of information about them, and I actually haven't seen them since, except these ones I got before, they were tiny. And if you know anything about Lake Tanganyika fish, they take forever to grow out. And so they started very small, and I've just been waiting, and they take probably about 3 years to reach maturity to where they can breed. And these fish are probably pretty close. I'm looking at them right now. They're not as big as the ones that I've seen in videos, but unfortunately, when I got these ones, because they were small, I couldn't sex them, and so I think I ended up with probably 3 males and 1 female, which is a horrible ratio. Now, they're in a community Tanganyikan tank, so that shouldn't be a big deal. However, I saw somebody put up a breeding group for sale, and they're wild caught, so I'm really excited. I hope that works out. I'm a little nervous. If you've seen any of my videos lately about new tanks, I got this 5-foot tank, and I'm going to try them in there. I probably should have put them in the 6-foot that's above that tank, but unfortunately I decided to put something else in there. But I could probably move something around because I put the peacocks in that tank, so I may move something around. Another addition right over my shoulder here is this, I'll walk around here in a minute and I'll show you, but this wood structure that I put in my discus tank, which was kind of a bare tank. There's nothing in it but the discus, which the discus were pretty, but I, just needed something else in there eventually, so I finally added something to that tank. But a ton of different changes. I don't know if I start just walking around and showing you. Yeah, let me go just show you some of the new fish that I got. Let's go take a walk. Whoop, there's my couch. So yeah, so this is the root structure that I put in with the discus. Turn off this light here. Which looks amazing, and I'm so excited to finally have something in here with these guys. They never show up on camera as nice as they are in person. Man, these are just incredible. So it's really nice to finally have something in this tank. This is, oh, I'm so excited about this one, and so excited to finally show you guys. This is my 6-foot rainbow fish tank, and I'm just super pleased with how it turned out. Lots of activity. They're not moving around as much right now. I feel like in the evening or in the morning they tend to have a lot more activity, but I also put some different tetras in here. I had a few tanks that I moved stuff around and added fish to this, but I'm very excited to see these guys grow out in here. There's a few live bears, some mollies. I had them with my barbs. That wasn't going well. I lost a couple. So mollies and barbs apparently is not a great combination. I hate learning things the hard way, but that's all right. There's also, I just moved them in here, so they're glass surfing because that's what they do, but there's some Amazon puffers in here that I took from another tank. One of my old 55s that I just moved all of the fish around and put them in here. So lots of different kinds of rainbows in here. There's some Skull Creek, Kalitawa, Melanitania parva, Bosemani, turquoise, millennial. Where's the millennial? He's pretty. I'm not sure where he's at right now. Of course, he's not going to come out right now. And then, of course, this aquascape that I am just very pleased with how it turned out. It is that big stick in there it was sitting in my driveway for about 4 or 5 months, and my wife was getting pretty sick of looking at it. But I usually find sticks like this in nature or in nature in like local waterways, and when I find something that's perfect, I'll grab it and then I'll leave it out in the sun for a while, because obviously something that big is almost impossible to boil or do anything like that. But it turned out really great. And another really cool thing about it is that this big log, it washed up in a storm that we had not that long ago, and that's where I grabbed it from. And so I think it must have already been, I don't know if it wasn't waterlogged because it was bone dry when I grabbed it, but it waterlogged really quick. Now I think these rocks on the other end are probably holding it down mostly, but I was really surprised. I had to have a bunch of rocks here on the right side just to keep it held down, and it was only a few days and the whole thing saturated, so I'm super excited about that. And when I was making this, I used this sand on the bottom that was super cheap. It was at Tractor Supply, which is a store in the United States, and it was a very cheap sand. And when I saw it, I was like, is this going to be a terrible idea or a great idea? And I think I'm pretty happy. It looks very natural. It's like a gray brown color, and it looks very river-like. I love it. And what is even cool about it is if you find cheap sand, you can get a ton of it. And so I had so much of this sand that when I was putting it in here, I realized how thick this layer was going to be, and I had a ton extra, so I was able to just pile it all in this corner and add this kind of rock or just pebble pile in the corner that I just think adds so much to it. There's the millennial in the back. I wish it would come out bright red. Beautiful fish. So and then these plants, I've had these growing out for quite a while, for years, some of them. And then some of the Amazon swords, lots of Amazon swords are newer sprouts that I got at a store recently. So I was very excited to find those because they're already submersed, sorry, not immersed. They're not immersed, they're submersed. So I don't have to wait for them to convert. And then there's a layer of dirt underneath it, so that should help with the nutrients there. So pretty excited about that. So anyway, this one turned out great, and I'll do kind of a full video overview. I have some equipment that I'm waiting for before I make a few videos, which is why I decided to kind of do this as a live stream. So yeah, got that set up. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in any of these tanks. This one looks like an absolute mess right now. This one was one of my most beautiful tanks, and it had that big stick structure that I just showed you. And I took it out of here to give it to the discus, and now it's basically just in transition. But showing you this, I can tell you what I'm planning on doing with it. And I got some fish for it that are currently in quarantine. I have a whole group of Congo tetras that were in here, but they're in a different tank just hanging out for now, because these fish, most of them have been at a fish store more recently than I'm comfortable with mixing it with other fish, so they are hanging out in here. And well, right, I'll show you these since we're here. Sorry to skip around. So this is a whole group of wild caught angels, and they are from, I think it's, the river is Monomin. I can't remember which one it was, but not too important. But they're wild caught angels, and they are absolutely incredible. But it's been about 3 weeks, so they're still kind of in quarantine, so I'm going to wait until they're looking good before I get them out of this tank and move them anywhere else and set this tank up to where it's going to be. But it's going to be a West African tank, and I have some leopard tenopomas that are going to go in here, my Congo tetras, and some Synodontis catfish that are also wild caught from West Africa. Just a few fish. I haven't decided the full. I think that's going to be enough because my group of Congo tetras is pretty massive, and I'll show you that. I have quite a few of them. So I think between that, once I get everybody out of quarantine, I will keep most of these plants in here, get some good rock structure and things like that, and set this one up, and it's going to be pretty cool. I've also got my parrot cichlid who's just hanging out in there because he was supposed to go in another tank, but it wasn't going to work, and I will show you why it wasn't going to work, and you'll see. But for now, that's what it looks like, and those are the fish that are going to end up in here. I have another Congo tetra wild caught fish that I don't think it's going to show up very well on the camera, so I may not even show it to you, but it is one that I had never heard of before I went to the store, and it's called a Perillis cichlid. Perillis was the name that they had for it, and I broke the rule. You should never do this when you go to the fish store. You should never just buy a fish you'd never heard of, but I did. It was too awesome, and I just couldn't help myself. So I went and I bought it and didn't do any research on it. Luckily, it's a pretty peaceful dwarf cichlid, and I'm not sure if it's going to end up in here, but it is absolutely beautiful, so I just couldn't help myself. But this parrot cichlid was supposed to go, I'll show you the next new tank, in this 6-foot tank right here. But I bought a bunch of fish to put in here to go with it, and as you can see, they are not very big, and they are bite-sized for that parrot cichlid. So I decided that was not a good idea to stick them in here with with these guys, and that's how he ended up in that 75. And I may have to wait almost an entire year before I do what I'm planning on doing with this tank, because I don't know how long it's going to be before they are not bite-sized, unfortunately. But these are some more fish that I got and that I'm excited about. These are 3 Waru cichlids, which are a little bigger than the rest of them. And over here we have there's a Cupid cichlid right there. These are probably the smallest and the ones that I'm most worried about. These are Geophagus spheni. They don't look like much right now, but they are going to be incredible. And then these guys, these more pointed snout guys, these are Satanoperca jurapari. And I believe that's it that's in here, but there's 7 of the Cupid cichlids, 7 of the jurapari, 3 of the waru, and 5 of the spheni. And that's a lot. I always kind of overbuy on fish. Not that I plan to fail, however, it just kind of happens if you lose 1 or 2 along the way. It's really painful if you've been raising them for a year, but at least you have enough to fill out your tank. But we'll see. Hopefully everything goes well. If I end up with too many fish, that's a good problem to have. So I would like the parrot cichlid to be in here, and then I also got a chocolate cichlid. Although the chocolate cichlid maybe could go in that tank. I also have my 1A South American tank, so I have quite a few South American tanks, so there's lots of possibilities to move things around if I need to. So I kind of overbought probably more fish than I probably should have, although right now with the size of these guys, not a big deal. This big stick structure is pretty cool too, and I'm kind of weighing it down. So, and I have a whole video coming out on this design. I know it looks a little sparse, but that is actually on purpose, and I got a whole video planned to talk about why that is, and I'm really excited about that. But this is kind of the main attraction, the next new thing. So the fawal, as I've called it in the past, which is the cheesy dad way of saying fish wall, the fawal right here is now the hallway. Yeah, that's bad, I know. So down here on the bottom, I mentioned that breeding group of Southopharynx foyer. This is where I'm planning on putting them. This is the 5-foot tank that I've shown in a couple videos. I painted the trim black. It was kind of the wood color. I had to replace the bottom trim because it broke. We won't tell the story on that. No, we don't need to talk about it. Anyway, and I resealed the whole tank. So this is a 5-foot tank. The thing I'm most worried about with this hallway is filming it, because it's not easy to get a camera into where you're not looking at things on an angle. So that's going to be a bummer. But anyway, so that's what's going to go on the bottom once I get them. And then on top, I put all my peacocks. So They are a little bit skittish ever since I put them right here because they're just not used to being so exposed from both sides. So they're calming down each day. But the first day they were in here, they were making a mess of the sand and kicking up everything. So and now they're back to following me around. And then I also built this little structure right here, little plant structure. You see that box? That is a, am I not seeing the chat? Sorry if I'm not catching things. I'm trying to, don't hit the X. I know what that means, live chat. All messages are visible. Okay, there it is. I built this little acrylic box. This was one of those, like, I hope it doesn't awaken anything in me, because I went out and I bought a big piece of acrylic and I bought some acrylic glue. And the whole time I was doing it, I was thinking maybe I could build an aquarium. So I just got this acrylic and some acrylic. It's not glue, it's not cement, it's solvent is what it is. And I made this box. You can see there's a little gap on the bottom that allows the water in, and it's siliconed right to the tank. I put some rocks in there. That was actually my wife's idea, very good idea, just to be able to make it look a little bit better, so it didn't just look like it was a random clear box. And then obviously you can see there's tons of plants there that I'm hoping, and actually I'm going to get a light that's going to go across the top that's going to be able to help those grow. And if you have a light on this pothos, it'll grow in anything, but if you put a light on it, well, actually this is what happens. I took the light off of this one, but you see this is like the biggest pothos plant you'll ever see. You see the size of these leaves. So there used to be a light hanging right there that I just took off yesterday, which means I should probably move these or they're just going to die. So I'm going to get a light to go up here so these will grow really well, so it'll suck all the nitrates out. And kind of my hope is, if anybody's kept peacocks, they're just messy fish, and I would have to do water changes on them once a week. And it's not that I'm against water changes, it's just, well, I mean, you see how many tanks there are. So if I have a tank that I have to do water changes on once a week, it's a pretty big commitment. So they were down here in this 75, so that's probably why I had to do them. Believe it or not, this 75 is not empty. There's a bunch of trophies in there, but they're all mad at me for moving them, so they're not going to come out and say hi. And then there's a big bag of media there that's for that bottom tank over here. So anyway, I'm pretty excited about this this peninsular tank. I have my door to where I keep all my stuff back here, and I just took the door off and put just a curtain there so you can't see it, and then my filtration. But yeah, I mean, I love this. My hallway. It's super cheesy, but that's what we're going to call it. So, and the next thing, so I haven't decided what to do with this 75. I have this, I was going to sell it, just get rid of it, but these are my 55. This is where a lot of the fish from the rainbow tank came in. That is black substrate. I dumped a bunch in there and it was super dusty, so I got to find a way to clean that. But that's actually going to be a quarantine tank for the fish that did not come today in the mail. Sad day, but that's okay. And I just hate the 55 gallon, the 4-foot 55. I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but it is my least favorite size of tank. It's like I have a 4-foot tank, but it feels more like a 40 breeder, because, or at least size wise, because it's just so weird front to back. You just can't put very much in it. So this tank on the bottom is my very first 4-foot tank that I got, and so it's a little bit sentimental to me. But I was thinking of maybe taking it out there and putting this 75 in there and kind of building like a little lip right here so it'll kind of stick out, kind of stair step a little bit. I am debating that right now because I'd hate to just get rid of this 75, which is very nasty right now, and have, yeah, I would hate to get rid of it just to keep a 55. As if you've watched anything in the past, you know that this whole thing I was planning on taking out of here. This is where this was going to go. And then I had this idea and I was like, why not have more tanks? So there you go. I decided to do it, and I love it, unfortunately, because it is, yeah, it's amazing. But I don't 100% know what I'm going to do with both of these for right now, and I think this is going to stay this way, although I need a new light on this tank. These are my Tanganyikan fish that were in my 125 gallon, which is pretty big downgrade for them. But it's some Cyprichromis I only have two Anantipolisas left, which is this guy on the rock back here, the lighter fish. And that is a beautiful fish. I had a large group, but they're just really tough on each other. And there's only two left, unfortunately. So I have a couple Catapunctatus, and then you can see his fin sticking out over here. That is a Gnathocromis permaxillaris, which is another very beautiful fish. But I only have two of them. I could put them in the 210 if it gets too cramped in there for them. But I think they're all going to hang out in here for now. I don't think this is too small for them. The Cyprichromis they'll get big, but they're not big yet. So for now, I think this is good. They were actually going to go in that bottom one over there, but I just felt like it was too small. And so I was trying to find something to add to the group, but I couldn't. And then I found that breeding group of Cyathopharynx foyer, and I told myself there's no way, and then I said there's no way I could say no to that. So I got it. So hopefully they don't all kill each other and it's not a waste. But I think it'll be pretty incredible to get those. But for now, that's what this one's going to be. My original plan for this whole section was to do live bearers, top and bottom. I have a group of Goodeids in the back. Goodeids. Sorry if I say that differently than me. And I mean, they're fine. They're in a 29 gallon. But I was originally thinking they could go in one of these tanks, and they may still do that. I would like to see them a little bit better. The tank they're in kind of turned into green water, and which is fine. If anybody's ever had green water, I always get a little excited as long as it's not a display tank, because I know that all the nitrates will be sucked up by that green water. So it's kind of perfect for breeding, but not perfect for looking at. So if I don't ever really get to see them that clearly, and they are a very pretty and a very fun active fish. So I think maybe they'll end up in here. But if you're just logging on and watching right now, as I said, I had some fish that did not get delivered today that were supposed to. I'm trying to remember. I think I said everything that I got in that shipment. And I'm trying to remember if there's any other fish that I wanted to show you guys. We're going to walk back here. These are just my quarantine tanks, and I'm going to like redo all of this once all of this is done, because I don't know. So first off, I mean, you see the 20s are hanging off the back there. That's probably not the safest. I think it's fine, but this entire stand was built to hold 10-gallon tanks. So it's not even really built. It's held together with screws. So this is breaking all the rules, and I hate it. It's fine for quarantine for a little bit, but I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm tired of looking at that. And also, I just need to shut down some tanks. I mean, I don't even want to tell you guys what my electricity bill is, but I'm sure you can guess. These are those cichlids I was talking about that are not going to look great on here, but that's okay. We'll look at them anyway. These are the Perillis. They're wild-caught Congo dwarf cichlids. Just Google that and you will be amazed. Very pretty fish. If you can't see it, that's the male right there, and the female has made herself a little cave in these rocks. Beautiful quarantine tank, isn't it? There are some Synodontis, yellow Synodontis catfish back there that you're not going to be able to see. There are some leopard tenopomas. Once again, beautiful quarantine tank. Enjoy that. At least I showed you all the pretty tanks first. So there's 3 of those leopard tenopomas in there. And this is the chocolate cichlid that I mentioned earlier. And he's happy and hungry. And these are the Congo tetras that I mentioned. I got a whole big group of them, as well as one emperor tetra that nothing can kill it. I had a group of them a long time ago, and they just kind of slowly died off, and this one will survive the apocalypse along with all the cockroaches. And there's also a whole group of bimaculata, Ivanacara bimaculatas in there, and this is going to be their tank to grow out in. They're already, I guess, pretty big. I mean, honestly, you can see, I mean, they're not fry anymore. These bimaculata have grown pretty big. I think there's 13 of them. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those. They're a very prized and valued fish, and just by showing them on the internet, I'm sure I'm going to have somebody ask me for them, because I have a video about them, and I constantly get asked if I'm selling them. And I kind of want to breed these ones. I just want backups. They have the parents, but I haven't caught the parents to breed with any regularity. So I kind of want to develop a system and figure that out, how to get that going more sporadically, or less sporadically and more consistently. But I mean, they're just such a pretty dwarf cichlid. So they're in here, and yeah, and there's my Congo tetras. There's a few males in there that are absolutely beautiful. So that West African. Hey Matthew, what's going on? Thanks, man. Yeah, yeah, good to see you. Yeah, so that West African tank that I'm going to set up, I'm going to do the Congos, the leopard tenopomas, the Synodontis catfish, and then I'm trying to decide whether to put those Perillus in there. They will breed. My understanding is pretty easy to breed. So we'll see. They're really pretty fish, and they're not very common. So maybe they will become a project, but not really a ton else to look at. There's some electric blue acaras growing out, and these, I had a plan for these Buenos Aires tetras. We're going to walk over there and I'll show you. I was going to put them in this 125. I was looking for a more robust tetra that I could stick in with these guys. And I ended up adding these orange fin hill trouts right there, which have done just fine. But I wanted the Buenos Aires tetras in here. But and they could go in here right now. The problem is this guy right here, this Starry Night. Oh my gosh, he makes a snack out of anything that isn't at least half his size. I actually was a little worried he would eat. I can't believe he hasn't messed with the Crebensis. I can't believe that they do well in there, but they've been in there for so long. I thought he would mess with the orange fin hill trouts, but he'll just eat everything. I tried to put some giant Danios in there, and he ate them, and I lost 2 of them that way. So I was growing out the Buenos Aires tetras to be able to add to this tank, and now I'm not even sure I want to add them there. So now that's kind of the problem, is that you buy a fish and you're like, I'm going to grow it out to add it to this tank, and then you do something different with the tank, and then they don't fit, and now I'm not sure what to do with them. I've heard they're a little boisterous and maybe can be a little nippy, so I know I got to put them in with something that can handle that. So now I'm kind of in trouble. I mean, I'll go back to this rainbow tank. I don't know. They could go in here, I guess. I would love to have some some more tetras in here, and this tank could definitely handle it. They would look really good. So maybe that's an option. I mean, as far as nippy fish, it's already got puffers in there. So puffers are probably, I'm not going to say they're the worst, but they can be very nippy. So that could be an option. In fact, I'm saying it right now, and I'm liking it as I'm saying it. Somebody talked me out of that. If anybody has kept Buenos Aires tetras, if you think that they would go well with rainbows. They're definitely colorful, and they would look good in here. So yeah, we'll see. But I think, oh, I forgot to mention one more thing that I want to do next. So these angels, these wild-caught angels that I mentioned earlier, oh, I just love them. See, I know it's nice to have beautiful, colorful fish, but something about that natural look is just never gets old. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add those angels. They're about the same size as the discus. And so I think I'm going to put them in here with the discus, and it'd be nice to have something else in here, but I'm very protective of the discus, so that's going to be a very careful thing. My original plan, we're going everywhere today, was to put these angels up there, which are they're not wild caught, they're F1s. They're another Pterophyllum sclerae. I can't remember their capture point. I got some leaves floating in there, just adding some more botanicals to this one. But I was going to put them in with the discus, but they're still kind of small. So actually they could probably go into that South American tank, and then those angels can go in here, because those other angels were going to go into the South American down there. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to put this back up here and sit back down. But it has been a very busy few weeks. I don't know if you know that feeling that I'm talking about. I mean, I just set up so many tanks but that feeling when you finish, oh my gosh, like I'm just exhausted. And in the middle of all of this, when I was setting things up, fish tanks are not light, and long story short, I had a couple days where I didn't do anything because I messed up my back. My back's been hurting for like 2 or 3 years now, really bad for about a year, and I do finally have an MRI of that tomorrow. I'm just been trying to hold this off for a long time, but yeah, in the middle of doing all this, um, I lifted a tank. I just I'm a guy, like, I can do it. It'll be okay. And then, okay, never mind. I'm gonna lay on this couch for an entire day. So I lifted the tank and then couldn't do anything for like 2 days. So that was the last tank that I had to bring down. It was the very last one, and it was that South American one, and I picked it up. We were almost down the stairs too, and luckily I got it into place and then just laid in one spot for about 8 hours because I couldn't move. So that was a huge bummer, but just the feeling of getting done with everything. If you've ever had a project like this, because this was just every day, I'd probably work on it for about 2 or 3 hours after work, um, which of course then you feel like you're neglecting everything else. I have way too many hobbies. I really got to go get some honey off of my beehives too, which are usually not making honey this time of year, which is why I started this, but the weather has been crazy. So that's another thing that's going to be great for my back. So I just picked too many hobbies that are bad on my back. So we'll see. We'll see if I actually manage to get that off of there. See, yeah, that's a hobby that's horrible on your back. That's probably why my back hurts, is from lifting boxes of honey, because those things, you lift it like this, it's above your head, and then you have to set it on the ground. And so that, or the running. Um, I don't know how much I've talked about all the other things that I have done as hobbies, but it's a lot. This is kind of, I don't know. I'm not gonna say this is the last one, but I feel like every time I get into another hobby, I just like add more knowledge together. It all kind of fits in weird ways. You wouldn't think it would, but started off with woodworking, which you can see this is where my woodworking came in, and I have a whole garage. I built a lot of furniture, beautiful furniture, lots of live edge stuff. And then from there, I use that to build bee boxes and things like that. I've always been a runner, although not for the last 6 months, just because of my back, unfortunately. So I'm hoping to get back into that. But um, I, I ran the Boston Marathon, and then I did a bunch of ultra marathons. My very last race that I did before I kind of messed everything up, I ran a 50 miler that I did awesome. I got second place by about 45 seconds. So the feeling of running 50 miles and then watching the first place person cross in front of you, we were like duking it out to the finish. And then it was actually a crazy story. We were going down a mountain, and it was raining all day, and I'm chasing him down and I'm catching him. And then I tripped and slid in the mud on my belly, and then got up barely moving. But we're running like 6-minute miles down a mountain after running 45 miles for the last six miles or so. Anyway, I did not catch him, but it's like after that race, my body was like, yeah, that was a lot. And so that's when I started having back problems and other problems. So anyway, so I did that for a long time, and then I started doing this, and yeah, so as you can probably already tell, when I get into something, I kind of do all of it. So, um, but yeah, I don't know why I started talking about that, but yeah, so I kind of messed up my back, and so just finishing, that's where I was. Just finishing this whole thing, I mean, was just one of those moments where I was like, I'm so happy to be done, because I also felt like I was kind of neglecting the tanks during all that. Like, I mean, there's a few of them right now that definitely need some algae scraping, because I was just kind of not really paying attention, and I did have one fish die, and I don't know if there's anything that I could have done to prevent it. I mean, it's probably a numbers game when you have this many tanks. You're just every month or so. And I had the zebra carr die. I had like a bunch of stuff just go wrong all at once, but this was a big pleco that I just loved, and I have no idea what happened to it. Everything else seemed fine, and who knows? My theory is that it like ate a quarry or something and got stuck. I couldn't um, tell, but yeah, I kind of kicking myself like, did I spend too much time building fish tanks and setting up tanks and not see. I don't know. My wife is the one that always like catches it when a fish dies, and I get so nervous when I see her look at a tank and then do this little, and I go, "Oh my gosh, don't be a dead fish." But she seems to always find them. But anyway, so that was kind of sad. So it felt really good to just finish this whole project. This was just kind of a huge undertaking, and I'm calling it like phase 3. If you look on my channel, there's a fish room tour from last, I want to say November, that was like phase 1, sort of, I guess you can call it phase 1. And then I tore all of that out, and then there's another fish room tour in March. So yeah, that one, I guess, was a pretty quick turnaround. And I guess I've got problems because it's only it's only the beginning of July, and I'm just finishing this like phase 3. But I don't think there's anywhere left for me to move stuff or add stuff. I have literally filled in all of the gaps. So I don't think I have any more big construction projects. And let me know, does anybody, okay, like I feel pretty secure in the construction and the wood stands that I build. I mean, the designs have been used by so many fish keepers, but you know, there's just something about the weight of this stuff, that the downward gravity of the stand, like holding it there, is very tough. But there's nothing you could do. Like, I have kids, so I always have like this horror mode, you know, scenario play in my head. Like, what if one of them were to like run straight at the tank or something like that, and it started rocking? But I mean, there's nothing you could do for that. Like, you can't strap it to the stand. I mean, you'd have to like make a solid steel stand for it to be able to withstand that kind of pressure or anything like that. But I don't know, just building stands is always kind of anxiety inducing for me. So, but anyway, I think the only other thing that I wanted to talk about was, I guess, kind of future stuff. I had a whole bunch of videos in mind, stuff that I wanted to talk about. I know lately I've kind of really fallen hard into this like philosophical side of things, and I'm sure I don't know if anybody's noticed that my more recent videos, if anybody's watching all of them, but yeah, I've gotten really deep into that, which is something that I've always been into. Like, I love reading, and I love reading philosophy and things like that. And then when I started realizing it connected so closely with the fish keeping, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a whole new topic that I've never personally explored, and I've never seen explored before. So I'm like, I got into it kind of hard, and I've been researching a ton, and I got about 50 ideas written down, and I don't want to like flood you guys with philosophical videos, because I probably could, and you'd probably get bored of them really quickly. But it's just such an interesting area to me, and you know, I want to make videos on the actual aquariums, but I don't know. I mean, like, there's a million aquarium videos out there, and I'm sure you could probably find 50 videos about a 6-foot rainbow fish tank. And so I recorded all of the footage of setting up the rainbow fish tank, but I don't really know how to make it into a video that anybody wants to watch. I mean, I know some people would watch it. Like, yeah, more philosophical. Thanks, Matthew. Um, but it's not interesting to me. And I think that's something that I've been thinking a lot about. Like, I need to make something that I actually enjoy here, because if it's not something that I enjoy, then I made a few videos that I was like, here's the tank, and I'm setting it up, and I'm like, this is boring. Like, who cares? I wouldn't watch it. So, like, if I wouldn't watch it, then why would I expect any of you guys to watch it? So once I started asking myself that question, like, what videos would I want to watch, and really diving deep into the philosophical side of things, now I'm like super excited. But you know, as I just mentioned, I went through my list of way too many hobbies, and as you can see from the world around me, when I get into stuff, I can get a little too much into it, and so I'm gonna have to exercise restraint. If somebody could define that word for me, I'm not very good at it, but I'm going to exercise restraint and vary things a little bit. But I do have a trip coming up, which fish keeping and going on trips, I know that most fish are fine with leaving for a few weeks, or it's a week. It's not even a week. But I do have somebody coming over, but that always makes me nervous, having somebody else. And this person is not a fish keeper. They are a mature person, and I'm gonna like hang bags on the aquariums. Like, this is how much you give. And honestly, most of these aquariums don't need to be fed. I know that. I know that I could probably walk away from a lot of these tanks. This one has an automatic feeder, so they'd definitely be fine. But I do have some um, baby um, white cloud minnows that are, oh no, what are they? You know what? Honestly, it's a tank. I moved fish out of tank and babies popped up, so I knew they were scattering eggs. I'm pretty sure they're white cloud minnows. I just saw a ton of little fry in there, and I said, well, I'm not getting rid of that. And so I started feeding the tank. So they need to be fed, and a few other fish. So I am going to have somebody come over and feed those while I'm gone. And I'm just kind of on the fence about whether or not I have them feed all of them. But I think if I just hang bags on the tanks and have them put just what's in the bag, I don't think I'll have problems with overfeeding. I just hear so many horror stories about that. I left somebody in charge of my fish, and I came back and everything was covered in algae. But so much of this is automated, like it's on timers and things like that. This tank is the automatic water change system. I mean, it runs like clockwork. I never have to touch it. So I feel pretty comfortable doing that, despite the fact that it's like, hey, how about every day while you're gone, you have 30 gallons of water being pumped through the ceiling? That nothing could go wrong there, right? So anyway, but I do have a trip coming up, and I'm actually going to go visit the only other fish keeper in my family, which is my Uncle John. And I think I'll film some of his tanks. And him and I, he's texting me, he's like, did you get into this? Did I influence you? And I do remember him having tanks when I went to visit him growing up. But I didn't visit him that often, and I remember the tank being there, but honestly, I never really remembered looking at it. And he was asking me, so how'd you get into all this? But yeah, him and I both have a basement full of fish tanks. So he's got a very different style than me, but I'm really interested to talk about that, because you know he kept fish tanks years ago, and anybody out there who kept fish tanks a long time ago versus today, and him and I talk about this a lot, it's just so different now, you know. So he came from the age of under gravel filters, and I have one under gravel filter just because I was like, I gotta try this out, because he swears by them. Although I think he's kind of switching more to canister filters now, last I checked. But he has under gravel filters and power heads on them and things like that. And I actually think they're not bad filters. I know they get a lot of bad um, press out there about them, but there's definitely some limitations. I'm gonna probably make a video, because I'm gonna actually tear down the tank with the under gravel filter, but it's been running for like 2 years, so it'll be a good opportunity for me to actually reflect on what I've learned on it. But my point is that he has this kind of a more old school style, and I came in later, so I learned on the world of YouTube, and just the modern fish keeping community is kind of obsessed more with the sumps and the canister filters and hang on the back filters and things like that. And you know, it's just what YouTube does to hobbies. But so I'm kind of curious to go out there and see his tanks and make some videos about them, and maybe talk about just how the world of fish keeping has changed, because this is kind of the world that I'm used to. So it'd be kind of cool to talk to him for a while, and just, you know, kind of pick his brain about that. But he is yeah, he's a great guy. I'm super excited about that. He actually has a YouTube channel. It's called Cichlid Heaven. He's just recently started posting a lot more. I think he's had it for a while, but yeah, so if you want to check him out, I guess I don't want to tell you to go look at all his tanks before I make videos of it, but I mean, yeah, so go check that out. I don't know if it's I'm pretty sure it's called Cichlid Heaven. I think that's the actual title of it. He may actually have it under his name. Now that I'm saying this, I should have looked it up if I was going to mention it, but whenever I make the videos, you'll see it then. So I'll post that if you want to check it out. But yeah, just very different style. But it's just so fascinating to me how everybody ends up with like their own style. And I don't want to give too much away, because a lot of this leads into some of the philosophical ideas and videos that I'm planning on making just about that. So yeah, I won't talk too much about that, because I'm going to give it all away, because like I said, I'm kind of excited about it. So but anyway, so I'll have stuff like that. It's out west. I was trying so hard to get into Brine Shrimp Direct, because he lives about 10 minutes away from the Brine Shrimp Direct factory, which I order a lot of food from them. couldn't get anybody to respond. I tried to request that, but I don't think I'm a big enough YouTube channel for a big company like that to see any value of letting me come and film there. But maybe one day I would love to be able to get into places like that. But we'll see how that goes. And I might just still go and like knock on the door and see if they let me in. I'm really surprised a company like that doesn't have like a social media presence. It's almost doesn't make sense nowadays for companies to not have social media presence. Just everybody does. I mean, look what Aquarium Co-op does, and I mean, it's basically built off of social media and done very well because of that. So I was kind of trying to use that angle to be able to get in there and see what they do. But I actually asked my uncle about it. He said he's been there before, but he said they're kind of secretive. I'm not sure if that's true, but he said they didn't really want him to come in and see everything. But they like sold him some food out the back door. So yeah, that sounds interesting. So maybe I'll try it. Maybe I'll see what I can do there filming wise. So yeah, so I don't know if it's 4th of July, it's kind of a busy week. Got some stuff planned and lots of things going on. So I knew I probably wasn't going to have, and like I mentioned before, and goes into the videos that I'm planning on making that I'm being cryptic about, but I need some more equipment before I can do this stuff, and everything's not quite done being set up yet. So it's just a couple of lights and things like that. So basically I'm just not going to have everything that I need to be able to make what I want to make. So I'm probably going to have to wait till next week. So take a miniature break, a holiday break. So I like making the videos, but it does take a lot more work. And if anybody ever thinks about getting into YouTube, I mean, I thought about it for years, a long time, and I thought I was going to make a beekeeping channel or a running channel. Never would have guessed that this would have been it. But my wife was the one that's been telling me for years, like, you gotta do this. So I just finally took the plunge into it. But it's once again something that I'm going to talk about in a video. But it is something interesting because you really just learn so much about yourself, about what you're interested in, and it's so easy to like compare yourself to all these other channels and like, how am I gonna be like that? I mean, these channels that are just so awesome and so creative, and not only that, but so well funded. I mean, like I am a $1 per gallon pet go. I mean, almost every tank. I mean, I've added a few, like this is a Sephora, so a few other tanks that I've not special ordered, but actually gone to the store and said, can you order me a tank? Like this one's a 5-foot tank, so a little different tank. So, which, I mean, I know I have probably more resources than a lot of people. Some people can't do all this, and I don't blame them. I probably shouldn't be either. RIP my kids' college education. Volume very low. Let me turn up the volume for you. Sorry. Oh my gosh, that thing was kind of low. Sorry about that. Does that sound a lot better? Maybe too high? I don't know how that happened. I always have my volume set at the same level, and somehow it got turned down, so that's been that way the whole time. But anyway, so like it's just it's way better. Thanks. Yeah, sorry about that. Hopefully was everybody else able to hear anything before that, or was it just turn the volume all the way up and get a little bit? I guess it's not as bad as on my other videos where I've done it before. Oh my gosh, it's so frustrating. I have filmed like entire things and then uploaded it to be able to edit it and gone, oh my gosh, the volume was down the whole time, and had to go back and redo everything, and that is so frustrating. I think that's like probably the #1 frustration I've had with this channel, is just getting the volume right. It's so hard. Like, you could get it perfectly and could still hear. Okay, that's good. Yeah, sorry it was a little low, but getting volume right on videos is tough. I mean, I didn't think that was going to be the thing that would be tough, but it is. But going back, I jump around a lot. Going back to what I was saying about starting a YouTube channel, but like it's really almost therapeutic, and I've mentioned that in the past in other videos. But RUP's Sagar 2. Hi, I don't know you. I haven't seen you on any of the videos before, but if you're new here, thanks for tuning in. But yeah, just you learn a lot about yourself and like what your interests are. Because like I said, I kind of got to the point where like I'm kind of trying to feel like competing with all these channels that have $1 million and access to entire piles of dragon stone and like the most incredible stuff that you can find in aquascaping. I'm like, I got a stick I pulled out of a river, so everybody like my stick, but I don't know. I've found something different in it, and it's been kind of fun just to do that. So I've really enjoyed it. But anyway, I told myself I'd try to make it an hour, 55 minutes. I didn't know I could talk that long. So, but if you are watching now and you are just jumping on, if you want to go back later and check it out, I got a absolute ton of new fish, and I got a few that I was hoping to be able to put on here today, but they didn't come in the mail in time, so that's too bad. Especially because it's so hot outside. I'm just envisioning them sitting on the floor somewhere. Future Holy Grail. Yeah, so go back in the video and watch. You can see all the new fish that I've gotten. Future Holy Grail. You know, I really want some Altums, like huge Altums, big tank, big Altums. I mean, I'm a little worried about that because like maybe they're super boring because they are kind of a slow moving fish, but I would love to just have some like full grown Altums. That's probably one Holy Grail setup 10 years from now. And mix into that some wild caught discus. I mean, maybe it's just my kick I've been on lately. One of the videos that I showed, or tanks that I showed earlier, was a 6-foot South American tank that I'm setting up, that I'm kind of focusing on like the more muted natural fish. And so I'm kind of on a kick with that. I just love that natural look. But I would love to have something that is a large setup with a big sump, lots of volume, very stable, that I could do something like wild caught South American Amazonian fish. That would be awesome. And throw in some like exotic plecos. I have been eyeballing on freshwater exotics. Freshwater exotics? Yes, I think that's it. They sell a lot of wild caught fish, and I have been watching on their website for way too long, and I want to hit order, but I don't even think I'm ready to care for this fish. They have this 7-point L, is it 20? It's a cactus pleco, and it's like a 10-inch. If you ever seen that, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I don't know if I could put them in with Altums and wild caught discus though, but that would be really cool. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like, you know, as the name of the channel implies, I have too many fish on my list that I don't know if I have a dream tank. But and honestly, I feel like a lot of the tanks that I have are pretty close to that. I wanted this one for probably about 3 years before I finally set it up. But so I would say that like my dream tank is just like an expansion of the ones that I already have, bigger, more volume, you know, less maintenance, and then different, more difficult to keep fish. So, or, oh my gosh, this is one, my wife and I have talked about this so much, and we don't know if we're ready to like take care of it, but I would love to have a massive, just not, well, it'll get massive. I would love to have a Maboo puffer, just a big tank with just a Maboo puffer. Maybe, I mean, I know they can kind of pick off their tank makes, but I wouldn't mind like 1,000 rummy nose or tetras in there with it, as long as they can not get eaten, or some other things like that. But just like that, really cool wet pet. Every time I've seen them in a public aquarium or in a store, just the way they come up to you and greet you, it's so fun. There was one that I saw at the fish store in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Fish Mania, that he's in the video that I made on that, that they called him Dale, because when he ate, he got this beer belly, and I don't know, the owner of the store there, I'm blanking on his name right now, Ethan, said that he'd never met a Dale that didn't have a beer belly in that part of the world in Tennessee. So anyway, but it was just so fun to watch this fish. They're so interactive, and the way they just interact with their owners. So I would, you know what, right now I'm thinking about it, that would be, I know it's just one fish, but it's like a pet. Um, and that's actually a topic that I want to make a video on one day that I haven't really thought of how to spin it, but like, you know, a pet versus a decoration. Hey Jody, hey guys, oh yeah, what's going on? But like a pet versus a decoration. Like sometimes I feel like my tanks feel more like decorations than pets. And but I think we all just kind of like crave that pet feeling, like the connection like that you would have with a dog or a cat, um, or a bird or something like that. But like I love my tanks and I think they're beautiful the way they are. But like sometimes I get a little bit like, is this just for decoration? Is this like a beautiful backdrop? You know, the tank that I showed earlier with my rainbows it's underneath my TV, and it's there for a reason, because I find myself watching the tank more than the TV when the TV's on. But like, I don't know, like there's not a rainbow fish that really interacts with you. And I think that's why people like cichlids, because they tend to be more interactive. But you know, nothing beats like, yeah, I got Tony, my flower horn. How do I? There he is. He's up there. But nothing beats that feeling of just having like this pet. So man, like a Maboo puffer would just be so cool. But I would want to do it right. Like I would want to give it like a plywood custom built tank, that just a big aquarium with a big sump or something like that. But for me, it's like the time commitment, and also, you know, like it's easy to sprinkle flakes in a tank. It's easy to just drop some pellets and flakes in there, but you know, you got to have good foods and real foods for them. You know, clams and shrimp and stuff like that. And so that's probably more of a cost thing. Like when I'm running all of these, I'm hopefully going for quality and quantity, but I'm not gonna lie, like there's a difference between having like one tank that you just like, this is my tank. And you know, I've met people like that. I met a guy at a fish store in Richmond that worked there, that he worked at a fish store, so you know, you'd think he would have a bunch of fish, but he's like, I've got one aquarium and it has about like 100 peacocks in it, and it's massively overstocked. But he goes home every day and he changes the water in that tank, and he was talking about how he has the Malawi cichlid salt, and he just all into the chemistry. And me, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's just too much. But you know, you can focus on just that like one tank, but that was like his baby, and he loved those fish. But I just kind of want to keep everything. But I do. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm starting to feel not bored with tanks, but I definitely have had a few of them. I rehomed some cichlids. It's been a few months, but it was one that I was really excited about when I got it, and I just kind of was like, I'm starting to get a little bit tired of this fish, and I ended up rehoming it, which always feels weird because I've never been like that with pets. I always like keep pets forever. I know people that just pass animals around, but that one felt weird for me. And I have some things like I've kept my Maltese for a long time. I hope my wife doesn't watch this because she loves Maltese, but honestly, sometimes I look at that tank and I'm like, nah, I don't know. I'm getting a little bit tired of it. But they're so fun. They're cool fish, but you know, I think like, oh, I could do something different. So it's starting to set in. I'm not where, you know, even the tanks that I just set up, I wasn't sure if I was willing to like have more tanks. I was kind of like, I think I'm ready to start coming down. And I think that's a natural thing. You know, we all kind of get into the hobby, and it's just how long does your multiple tank syndrome last? You know, so far mine's going on about 2.5 years or so. I always lose track of time. It might be less than that. I always want to tell myself it's more time than that because it makes me feel better about how many I got in such a short amount of time. But you know, that's just my own me trying to talk myself into something good. But I'm finally getting to that point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to start specializing a little bit more, which is, so I'm buying more, probably more South Americans. I'm just really getting into South Americans, and part of that is because So if you've seen videos in the past, I used to live in Brazil, and I just, I don't know, it kind of makes me feel a little connected to that part of the world. And number one species that won't bore you. So yeah, I'm just thinking about specializing a little bit more, and it would probably help my channel a little bit because I'm all over the place. I've got people that are like, I'll only watch discus videos. I'm like, well, I don't have that many of those, so, and I don't think I could make videos on only discus because I'm not an expert there. But so number one fish that won't bore me. I mean, yeah, that kind of goes back to the pet thing. Like my flower horn, who it's really hard to figure that out, who has been in the corner a couple times. That's such a fun fish. He gets the zoomies and he goes back and forth. And actually, I don't even think he's that exciting of a flower horn. I've seen ones that are even more interactive. He actually is not always. I'm watching him right now. He's not always running around. There he is. He's showing up, but he's just, he can never get bored with that. I don't know how to say your name, Mersic. Mersic. So, yeah, I love the flower horn. But so my favorite, and this is the same conversation, is because like it depends on whether you're talking about like if I could just keep one fish, because I love my flower horn, and if I just had one fish, it would have to be him because he's the most interactive, and I never get bored of him. But like my actual favorite fish would have to be a fish that I can just like keep like a large group, more like almost a tank. And in that case, I'm gonna go with the discus because they're just so colorful. They're also really interactive, more than you'd think. I mean, I really thought, the way discus are talked about, like I thought that I was gonna get them, and well, first off, I thought I was gonna kill them all within a week because that's how they're talked about. And some of that's true, some of it's not necessarily 100% true. But I don't think they're as difficult as people make them out to be, but I think they need a little bit more care. I'm not an expert there, and it's a very touchy subject, so I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on it. But I was really surprised how interactive they are. And I put my arm in the tank, and they come over and they nibble on me constantly. And it's just funny. I'm like, I thought this was like fish. I mean, I was super worried about the TVs right next to the tank, and I was so worried about having the TV there, and that because I had read they're like, oh, they're super sensitive fish. You don't want loud noises. I mean, I was just watching Lord of the Rings and big loud music, and I mean the fish don't care. So not what I expected at all. As far as the axolotl, I have to say I have never had even the slightest desire to keep an axolotl. Maybe it's because I've never played, is it Minecraft or Roblox? One of the games that has axolotls on it. I know somebody told me that's why they're really popular, is because they're showing up on a video game. I'm not into big into video games, but anyway, I just never have. I don't know why. Maybe it'd be Minecraft. Thank you. Maybe it would be fun. I was kind of the same way with flower horns. I thought, why do people keep these things? They're crazy looking. So it's possible that one day I'll be like, you know what, I just got to try it, and then I'll absolutely love it. And then it depends on what my kids ask for. There's a few tanks down here. This saltwater tank, that's what happens when you have a 3-year-old daughter who's obsessed with Finding Nemo. There it is. So they do dictate some of the fish that I buy, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of them wants an axolotl one day and I give in. The other thing that I've been being begged for a long time is a turtle. And I don't know why I haven't done that yet. I probably could have done that a couple times, but they really want a turtle. And actually, I don't mind the idea. I have a really good friend who's obsessed almost as much as I am with reptiles. His basement is full of he's got iguanas and bearded dragons and things like that, and he's got a huge turtle tank with some giant danios. And anyway, it's a cool looking tank. But I guess it's just the setup that you have to have on the top with the the heating area and things like that. I just have to think about it and get into it, and I could probably do it. But also right now, I feel like whenever I name the fish that I'm going for next, the turtle tends to end up down here. But that doesn't mean that somebody's not going to convince me. So but anyway, I should probably costs to make, you know what? I don't add up how much it costs. I really try not to. There's a guilt factor there. I, you know, um, I don't want to get, money side might be a little too personal, but I have my beekeeping and I have sort of a honey business. And I'm not going to say it covers all of the costs, but I've actually over the years built up a decent like following for my honey. So I sell honey, and Cichlid tonight, how you doing? And I actually, so I sell honey, and then I take the money from the honey and I buy fish stuff. So I'm kind of using my previous, not my previous hobby, I'm still doing the beekeeping, but I'm using the money from the beekeeping to kind of buy the fish. So it doesn't cover 100%. The rest of it, it'll be like, you know, I'll just pick up something extra at work, or, you know, sell a kidney or a kid or something like that. I'm just kidding. I still have both kidneys, and I have most of my kids. But this was a really nice tank, so I won't tell you how much that kid went. This is something like YouTube's gonna flag this video like trafficking. No, I'm just kidding. I have 4 kids. They're all here. Never done that. But my point is that yeah, I don't often. I just kind of try to space things out, and I don't buy it all at once. But it has. Maybe one day I should probably do a video on how much, because it does cost a lot. You can't do this unless without that kind of commitment. So I wouldn't plan on building something, or you can do it a lot slower, which I kind of did a lot faster, but you know, it is what it is. So I probably should jump off. My family just got home and kids are going to start running down here. The last question about loving cichlids, I honestly, I have too many different kinds of fish that I don't know if I've kind of decided that cichlids are my favorite. I love South American fish a lot, so and most of those are usually cichlids. So, but the plecos are awesome. I love the big plecos, and I just set up my. Oh wow, that's late in Europe. Thanks for jumping on so late. That's awesome. But I just set up my 6-foot rainbow tank, which if you are just joining, I showed you a little earlier. And I love those rainbows. I mean, big rainbows, like huge full-grown rainbows, when you see what those look like, I mean, they'll almost convince you to give up your cichlids. But they don't have as much personality. They don't feel like as pet-like. So I definitely would say cichlids are still hanging close to the top, but the rainbows and the plecos and are not far behind. And then of course I have like my barb tank and things like that, which is just so packed full of color. It's just so fun to watch. So I am definitely not at the point where I'm ready to just pick just one and specialize. So anyway, thanks a lot for those of you guys that jumped on. It was really fun to talk for a little bit and to show you guys what's been going on lately. I wanted to make a video just showing all the changes, but I just thought this would be a lot more fun to do it this way, to be a little more interactive. Everybody kind of jumped on at the end after I had already walked around and shown everybody everything, but you know, go back and watch the rest of it if you're interested to see what I got. And like I said, I've got a few videos planned for next week that I still need to film. They're almost done, but just need to get the camera out and do that. But I will be doing that next week. But those are just some awesome topics and something that I'm really excited about. So I hope you guys enjoy it. But thank you all for jumping on, and I will see you in the next one. And wish list out. That's what I'm supposed to say. And then I got to figure out how to shut this off. See ya.